Starting in our lying position, so get yourself on your back. I'll mute you there. Perfect. Good. So thinking of the breath tonight, so let's just kind of mentally check in with our breathing rate. Just bring that awareness into how we're breathing in and how we're breathing out. So taking your time here as you're lying on your back, whatever position your legs are in, whatever position your arms are in. Just watch where that breathing's going. Kate, you have a rock star just showing off her dance moves there. Good. Hello, Julia. Good. So from here, we're going to come and count our breath as we're lying on our backs. And so as you're inhaling in through the nose and exhaling through the nose, just start to bring your awareness into your breath cycle. So think of inhaling in, exhaling out. That counts as 1. Inhale in, exhale out. 2. Inhale in, exhale out. 3. Inhale in, exhale out. 4. Keep going all the way up till 10. So just count your own breath cycles. I'm trying to focus on that breath coming in nice and long and out nice and long. So taking your time, taking these first few moments just to tap into that awareness of our breath. Once you've reached your 10, you can start to walk the feet out just wider than hip position. So kind of heel toe the feet out towards the outer edges of the mat as the knees are bent. Just let those knees rock over towards the left, come back in through center, over towards the right. So just let yourself rock a little bit left to right here, nice and slow. Again, you can use that breath to guide the movement. So we can inhale into the center, exhale out to the side. Inhale into the center, exhale out to the side. If you want to tap into your chest as well, you can bend the elbows and bring the palms at the back. Rest the palms at the back, so I mean like a cactus arm. So you can have the arms in our cactus position so the backs of the palms are resting on the mat as well, just overhead. Trying to maintain the shoulder blades in contact with the ground as you're moving the legs left and right. Nice and slow with your own intention to your own depth. Good. And then come back in towards center. So the knees will come back and pause in through center. Walk the feet so the feet are back to hip width position here. Hands come down towards the pelvis as we inhale, let the pelvis rock forward into our pelvic tilt forward, so low back gets some space. And then exhale, low back crunches down towards the floor. So inhale, pelvic tilt forward, and exhale, pelvic tilt backwards. Just letting your body move slowly, bringing some awareness through the pelvis, through the low back. And as you come back, we're going to find that kind of low back glued against the mat, so pausing backwards to feel the core muscles start to turn on here. Starting by moving at the knees, we're going to inhale, the right knee falls out towards the side, only as far as you can control, and inhale the right knee back in towards center. So knees are staying bent here, feet are still on the floor. Inhale, left leg just opens out towards the side, towards the ground, and inhale back into center. Hands can stay on the pelvis here so you can really feel what's happening in those core muscles and really feel that the pelvis is staying locked onto the floor, that the movement is purely coming from the thighs moving in the hip socket versus your torso rocking left and right. So bring some awareness into the hips, opening here nice and controlled, and the core helping to control the movement as well. And then pause the legs back in through center, both knees are bent. Knees facing the ceiling, feet flat on the floor. Arms come alongside the body, coming into our bridge preparation. So both palms facing down into the floor, shoulder blades glued down as well. Again, getting your position so the feet are flat on the floor. We're going to squeeze to the back of the glutes as we inhale, lift the hips up off the floor, coming into our bridge, and exhale, bringing it down nice and slow. So moving with your breath here as we inhale, squeezing the back of hips, pushing heels into the floor as we lift the hips up off the floor. And coming back down, tuning into your chin as well. So keep a little bit of a chin lock here, so a bit of chin tucked under, so your neck's not getting cranked at all. And just move with your breath. So we're just going to move up and down from our bridge position, just holding at the top for a few seconds to bring yourself back down. If you do want to add the arms in here, you can feel free to. So you can bring the thumbs towards the ceiling, and then as you inhale, hips come up. The arms can also reach up overhead, up behind you. And as you exhale, arms come down at the same time as the hips. So you can always pace the movement with the arms lifting up overhead as the hips come up, as long as that neck is staying protected. And exhale, hips and hands come back down. One more rep wherever you are. Nice and slow and controlled. And come back down. Perfect. From here, we're going to roll over to your left side body. So rolling over to the left side body. Going to come so your knees are in a bent position. Find the position where the elbow can be underneath the shoulders. We've talked about shoulder positions before. Your right hand can just feel for the front of that left shoulder. Make sure you're kind of hugged back into the socket so the shoulder joint is stacked perfectly over that elbow joint. Right leg is going to come in front, left leg straightens underneath us. So we're coming into this left leg straight position on the ground, right knee's bent over, foot flat onto the floor. So find your position here that you feel nice and controlled. We're going to push the right foot into the floor as you inhale, lifting the hips up off the ground. So we're seeing if we can lift and push, so you're feeling a bit of work in the glutes, a little bit of work in the shoulder muscles, keeping you stable, and through that front foot, and bring yourself back down with control. If that feels like it's too much, don't go as high, or just visualize moving without actually moving the hips up off the floor. Inhale, pushing the foot into the floor, lift the hips up off the ground. Option to bring the arm overhead here as well. So if you want to add a side stretch in, you can bring the arm all the way overhead so the upper arm's over the ear and your arm is facing forward. And exhale, hips come down, arms come down. One more like that. We can inhale, push foot down, left hip comes up, arm can reach overhead as we stretch overhead. And exhale, let yourself lower back down. Perfect. Both legs are going to be bent. We're going to roll ourselves back onto our back and roll towards the other side. So rolling onto the right side body here. Switching. Coming up onto your elbow, so stack your elbow under your shoulder. Find your shoulder position so it's nice and secure in that shoulder joint to start. Bottom leg is straight, top leg is bent, and that top foot again is facing forward, wherever your torso is facing. Good. Think of pushing the left heel into the floor and then lift the right hip off the floor as we lift up. Option to bring the arm up overhead as you do that as well. Good. Exhale, come down with control. Arm comes down, hips come down. Two more like that. We're going to inhale, lifting up, pushing that left foot in the ground as we lift the right glute off the ground. Exhale, coming down. Good. One more here, inhaling up, pushing down, lifting up. Good. And exhale all the way down. Good. Roll yourself over onto your hands and knees position from there. So from your side position, roll over onto your hands and knees. And your nice wide-legged hip position here. So finding your arms, finding your knees, finding yourself in your tabletop position. Coming into our nice circular motion here. So shift your body weight forward. Move over to the right side. So a clockwise turn. Hips come back. Hips come to the left. Shoulders come to the left. So making yourself as if you're clock face, turning into a nice clockwise position. And letting yourself just kind of rotate over the wrist creases, rotate over the hips. Allowing yourself any extra movement you want here. So think of these nice little circles. You can bring in any movement from the shoulder blades, any movement from the spine. Just control your circles clockwise. And then switch directions, control your circles counterclockwise. Again, picturing yourself like a big spoon, stirring a bowl, or like a big clock face, going slowly towards that counterclockwise position. Good. Pausing in through center, so come back to find your tabletop position. Curl those toes under, coming into a little stretch for the base of the feet here. So toes curl under nice here. You can come into different depths here. So you can start to sit your hands or sit your hips back towards your heels. Your hands can kind of move as far as you want to. If you want to go into full progression of the stretch, you sit your hips all the way back and you lift yourself nice and tall. It's a pretty intense stretch, so some people prefer to sit on a block to alleviate some of that stretch. Or if you want to alleviate it, you can always come and have your hands supported on the floor here. So come into whatever depth you feel like going tonight. The bottoms of the feet are going to be talking to you very soon, telling you to get out of this position. Just keep breathing through it, giving them a nice stretch, especially if you're walking around barefoot more often than the house now that the weather's nice. Taking a couple of breaths here. One more inhale. On the exhale, shift forward. Let yourself kind of pat those feet out on the ground. Let yourself kind of move that stretch. Good. One more time like that. So curl those toes under. And then start to work yourself backwards into the stretch of your choice. Wherever you are thinking of sitting with that stretch, sitting with the feeling at the base of the feet here in that plantar fascia. Coming back into that breath control. You can close the eyes, just breathe through it. I'm just going to judge where you're putting your weight. Are you like kind of shifting towards one side? Can you kind of keep yourself even through both feet here? One more inhale. And then exhale, get yourself a little bit of a pat out again. Wonderful. Taking a breath in, we're going to walk the right leg out towards the side. So you're going to move the right leg out towards the side. Body will come facing forward to the camera so you can see. So right leg is nice and long to the side. Taking a check in so the right foot and the left knee are in a nice long line here. Oh, Krista, your dog's coming for some dog yoga. Therapy yoga with the pets. Okay, so from here, we're just going to tune into this position before we move. So have the hands onto the floor, nice and controlled. Just tune in. Both fingers are kind of spreading apart nicely onto the ground. What's happening at your shoulder blades, you're kind of hunching or locked into the shoulders. So find some support through the shoulders here. Find some support through that right foot. So right toes are staying anchored onto the floor. Taking a couple of breaths in through here. On your next exhale, set the hips back and just pause in that stretch wherever you feel a good spot. So keeping the hips back, just pausing as those hips are sitting back here for a few breaths. And then I'll invite you to move on your own pace here. Then you can inhale coming up out of it. And exhale and move back into that stretch. Again, staying as long as you like now. So offering your own movement into this stretch here. You'll feel that right inner thigh start to stretch out. You can come in and out of it, moving with the breath cycles. I always like to kind of play with this movement too. Maybe you want to move the hands to one corner of the mat as you stretch back and add a little bit of a side bend with the torso. Move to the other side. So just play with the movement and see kind of what stretch brings you the most effective version for yourself. If you're moving around, bring the hands back in towards center and come up off the stretch a little bit so we're back in kind of high hips over knees. Walk the hands back so we come nice and tall in that stacked position. A little bit off here. Good. So torso's over, left leg, right foot is still anchored onto the floor here. Good. Hands into the pelvis just so you can kind of get your feeling. If you feel like your low back is kind of arching, you're dumping forward in the pelvis, get a little bit of control through the pelvis to keep yourself nice and long. Inhale, arms come up overhead. We're going to start by moving towards the right side. So right hand comes onto the right thigh, left arm goes over. So we're side bending to the right here, feeling the left side stretch. Good. Trying to keep that nice tall position in the spine and the pelvis so you feel like you've kind of dumped forward. Find the control where you're nice and stacked through the spine and the hips. Inhale in, both arms overhead. Exhale, left hand comes down, right arm overhead. This is where you can always find your block support, right? So hopefully you have your blocks nearby. Make sure you do the version and the depth that works for your body, right? Good. Taking one more breath in here. Exhale, both arms come back up through center with support. Both hands onto the floor. Right knee comes in, left leg switches out. So switching to the other side here. So taking your time again to find that foot and knee alignment, a nice long line here. Hands onto the ground. Again, just tuning into the position before we move. So both hands supported into the ground, shoulders controlled. Maybe wrap those armpits in towards each other. And then take a breath in and exhale, hip comes back towards the heel into your depth of that stretch. Pausing here for a few moments, just taking a couple breath cycles on this position. Bringing some awareness into the left inner thigh. And then I'll invite you to move with your own breath, so you can inhale to come out of the stretch and exhale to walk back into the stretch. So moving on your own breath cycles here. Again, option to move the hands around to kind of feel out different angles of the stretch. Inviting yourself to inhale, release from the stretch, and exhale, deepen. So just find, again, what your body is feeling tonight, because everyone's in a different stage. Wherever you are, start to bring the hands back in towards center. Release the hips a bit more forward so we can walk ourselves nice and tall over that front supporting right leg. Good. Hands into the hips. Again, find that pelvic position. Make sure we're nice and tall through the spine here. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, left arm down towards the left leg, reaching the right arm up and overhead. Good. Finding your version here. One more breath in. Exhale, both arms overhead, and switching to the other side. If you need your block, grab your block as the right hand comes down to block or to mat. Left hand just comes overhead. Again, if you feel like you've lost the low back, your pelvis or your butt's kind of pushing backwards, make sure you have a bit of control through the back of the glutes. Good. One more breath in. Exhale, both arms up nice overhead, and then hands down to the ground. Come back into our tabletop position. We're going to go to standing position with the option of going into down dog. So if you want to go into down dog, curl those toes under, knees bent, hips come up towards the ceiling as the hands are pressing into the floor. If you want to just go up to standing, just move from tabletop up to standing position. If you went to down dog, just walk yourself forward with control. Pause in a forward fold for a second. And then from your forward fold, slowly let yourself rise back up into our mountain pose. And mountain pose facing to the front of your room. Good. Mountain pose from here, coming into our breath cycles as we inhale, arms up overhead. And exhale, hands come in through heart center. Good. Inhale, arms come up overhead. Exhale, hands in through heart center. Inhale, arms come up overhead. Exhale, hands in through heart center. Wonderful. Hands coming on towards the pelvis here. I'll walk to the side so you can see me here. You're going to walk the right foot back a little bit. So we're going to kind of play with this rocking motion here. So right foot steps back a little bit so the heel stays off the floor. We're going to shift the body weight back and forward over these legs. So you're going to shift the body weight back so your front foot now comes off the floor as the back leg is on the ground. And then shift the body weight forward so the front foot gets the weight. Yeah, so just rocking back and forward over those 2 feet. Playing a little bit with the balance. And you can kind of figure out if you feel like your feet are too close together, too far apart. So just doing a little bit of awareness of where your feet are accepting the weight, what's happening to that back leg as you accept the weight backwards. I'm going to get you to stop next time you bring the back foot down to the floor and the front heel is lifted up. So the back foot, good. From here, we're going to come into the position where that left toes are facing up towards the ceiling. In a position where you can bend the back knee. So as you bend that back knee here, you should feel a little bit of balance control. If you feel like you're out of whack, just kind of squeeze forward and then move the back foot to kind of find a better position and then go back into the position. So from here, back knee is bent, front toes are up towards the ceiling. We're going to come into a little stretch here. So you're going to think of folding in half and the hips. As the hips go back, chest comes forward, keeping that spine nice and long. So you're going to feel temptation to kind of shift towards one side of the pelvis to move. So see what you can do to keep yourself even through the hips facing forward. That back leg is taking a lot of weight, so you'll feel some effort in the back thigh. And as we lean forward a little bit and fold in the hips, that left thigh will feel a little bit of stretch in the hamstring too. If you want, you can bring the hands into heart center, keeping the thumbs against the chest, reaching and holding chest nice and high. Taking one more breath in. And then exhale, hands come back towards the pelvis, straighten the back leg, shift the body weight forward, and come back and forward. You can wiggle out those feet if you want to, and then bring the left foot back a couple inches. So again, we're going to kind of play with that body weight, start to shift the body weight forward and back, keeping the pelvis facing forward. And then pause as the back foot rests onto the ground, front toes are up to the ceiling as the front heel is on the ground. Bending that back knee to get yourself some support, and then shift hips back, chest forward as we're hinging from those hips, trying to feel the stretch of the right leg and support of the left leg. Option to have the hands at heart center, keeping the thumbs at chest height, shoulder blades back together, chest open. Taking a couple breaths here. Good. And then hands come back towards the hips, start to shift yourself up and bring yourself back and forward. Coming into warrior one with control, left foot stays onto the floor, inhale, right leg comes up nice and high. So a little bit of bend in that left leg just to support you here. We're going to walk that right leg back with that same control as we come into our warrior one position. So warrior one, both legs are a little bit apart, so as if we're on skiing or train tracks. Back foot is angled forward enough that those hips can space forward. So you can always have the pointed fingers out, keeping the pelvis facing forward. Front knee bends. So front knee's bent, back leg is straight, nice and control through the torso and through that pelvis here. If you need some more space, I like to walk the front foot forward, just to lunge forward a little bit. So you can start to feel a little stretch in the front of that right hip and the control through the left leg. Option to bring the arms overhead in our warrior one position. And if we're in our warrior one, again, thinking of that glute support from that right leg. Think about keeping that pelvis facing forward. Good. Taking a breath in through here. Exhale, palms facing forward and bring the elbows down as if we're in our cactus arm. So slide the elbows down an imaginary wall. Good. Taking a nice breath in. And then option to exhale, hands come behind the back, interlace the fingers behind the back as we open through the chest here. So maintaining our warrior one legs as we're now opening through a bit of a chest stretch. Good. Taking a breath in. If you like your humble warrior, we can move from the hips again, bringing the torso down inside the left leg, coming into our humble warrior as the hands come up off the low back area. Come into your version, so you can always just stay up nice and tall. You can always have the hands by the side or overhead. A lot of different versions in the warrior one. Pick the one that resonates with you tonight. Good. And if you've leaned forward, slowly start to bring yourself up with that core control to lift up and get yourself some support of the spine. Release the hands, arms come up overhead. And then again, shift the weight forward so you can step forward, hands come down into mountain pose. Hands onto the pelvis, start to move right leg onto the ground. Inhale, left leg lifts. Good. With that same control, start to step the left leg back into our warrior one on the other side. And bend through that front knee. So take the time to find your position. So look down at the feet. See where your feet position are. See where you need to move a little bit if you need to open the left toes out a little bit to the outer edges of the mat. As long as you feel your pelvis facing forward. Once you're there, inhaling, coming arms overhead, Taking a nice breath through here. And exhale, palms facing forward. Start to slide the elbows down the body or down our imaginary wall. Opening through the chest. And then finally, we can bring the elbows straight and reach the hands behind the back, opening from the front of the chest. Maintaining the nice control and support through our legs here. Option to lift through the spine and hinge from the hips as you can come into your humble warrior if that feels like it's calling you tonight. And just taking the time wherever you are, whichever version you choose. And taking one more breath in. If you've gone into your humble warrior, use that core control to lift your torso back upright. Release the hands as you step that leg forward and bring yourself into mountain pose at the front of the mat. Cool. Let's work on a little bit more balance before we start lying down. So we're going to walk yourself to the back edge of the mat. So wherever you are, move yourself to the back edge of the mat. To give yourself a little space to move along the mat here. So same idea, we're going to have our left foot forward, bring the right foot back a little bit. So same idea as that kind of weight shifting that we were doing earlier. So kind of start in that position where the front foot is stable onto the ground and the back heel is lifted up. So that's kind of our starting position here. Palms facing forward in our mountain pose, arms, shoulders control, so shoulder blades squeezing back together. Nice long line from the back of the head to the pelvis. Front knees slightly bent, so give yourself a little bit of control through that front leg so we feel ourselves balancing on the front leg here. Start to shift yourself forward into our toppling tree. So we can shift our torso forward as we feel comfortable and as we feel like we want to. You can bring the back toes off the floor so you're balancing purely on your front leg. So as if we're kind of taking a nice trust fall forward. We're not going to face plant on the mat, hopefully. That left leg is doing lots of work and your core is doing lots of work to keep you upright. We're going to now step forward. So inhale nice and long. So come back up tall. As you bring the right leg forward, start to shift the weight over the right leg as the right leg bends a little bit. Back heel comes up off the left leg as you shift the body weight forward. Starting to bring the left toes off the floor once you feel ready. So keeping your position on the other side there. Again, thinking of keeping the pelvis level, so your kind of pelvic bones are facing down towards the mat. 2 more steps forward. So inhale, coming tall, left leg comes forward, take a baby step forward. Bending the left knee, absorbing your weight as the right foot starts to come off the floor as your body weight shifts forward over the standing leg. So we're just walking over the mat tonight. Hopefully no one has any dirty feet. And then we're going to switch to the last side as we inhale up. One last step. Stepping forward with the right. And transitioning over that front leg with that same control. Good. And then come nice and tall. Coming back into mountain pose. Now we've made it to the front of the mat in our mountain pose. Wonderful. Inhale, arms come up overhead, big breath in. And then exhale, hands come down through chest center. You can bend at the knees. We can pause into a forward fold if that's calling you tonight. And then start to transition down towards the mat. So we're going to come down towards our back again. Good. As we're lying on the back here, gonna have the bound angle position. So feet are gonna face in together. So both pads of the feet facing in, both knees falling out towards the side. So as if we're creating a diamond shape with the legs here. If that feels like it's too much for the hips, you can always use your block or some pillows to support underneath the knees or underneath the thighs to let gravity kind of stop the legs from going all the way down towards the floor. Otherwise, if you're digging that position, just keep yourself relaxed here as you feel the hips starting to open on the inner thighs across the front of the hips. Letting gravity just gradually pull the knees down towards the floor. Taking a breath in. Exhale. If you'd like to support the legs back up, you can use the hands just to push the thighs back in towards each other. Feet come flat onto the floor. Start to straighten the left knee, so left leg straightens, and pull the right knee in towards the chest here. So find your position where that right leg can pull in towards the chest. Left leg can be straight onto the floor. And come into a twist from this position. So you're going to support the right thigh across the body with the left arm, all the way over until we can reach our right arm out towards the side. Either right arm is bent in our cactus elbow, or right arm is straight. So coming into your twist here, you can always use a block to rest the right thigh on. And if you're having a hard time, just move to stack the hips on top of each other. So move into the twist where the front or the top hip is stacked over the bottom hip. And that might feel a little bit better for you. So wherever you are, if you want to deepen the twist, you can look over towards the right side, or just keep the head in line, looking up at the ceiling. Just coming into a little bit of a breath awareness here as we're breathing in and out through the nose. Taking one more breath on this side. Exhale, slowly start to unravel, roll back onto your low back. Right knee hugs in, bring the left knee into the chest as well. And then transition yourself so you're hugging just the left leg in as the right leg straightens. Moving with your own breath cycle, start to move that left leg across the body using the support of the right arm. Again, you can shimmy the hips a little bit if you want to stack the top hip on the bottom hip to give yourself some more space to roll over. And left arm opens up with the option of looking to the left side. Just taking a pause here. On the other side. Add one more breath in. As you exhale, slowly start to unravel again, rolling back to your back. You can hug both knees in towards the chest here. And then come in towards your happy baby, so we can bring the arms inside the legs, maybe reach the hands inside to the shins, to the outer edges of the feet, or towards your big toes. Yeah, any roll in side to side. Any movement with the legs, just invite yourself to kind of do what feels good. And then once you feel ready, you can slowly start to bring your legs back down and move yourself into final Shavasana. So take your time to find your Shavasana tonight. If there's any other poses you'd love to do, please do them now. Otherwise, spreading the legs over as much area of the mat and to the floor as you can, spreading the arms as if we're a big snow angel on the floor. Taking your time here, coming back into that breath cycle so you can bring yourself back into that body awareness, that breath awareness. Take your time lying in your Shavasana, coming into your breath cycle. Just finding your final resting relaxation. Once you find your relaxation, bringing your awareness into your deep belly breathing. Letting the belly expand and fall. And then we're gonna close off as we come into seating position. The meeting is gonna cut us off, so I'll log us out, but if you want to join back in just to close off, you can come back up into a seated position in a few minutes. So take your time breathing here for a few minutes, and then you can join me back onto the meeting to close practice together if you like. If you want to just stay here for a long time, I'll wish you namaste, good night right now. Otherwise, I'll see you back in a few moments.